Thank you for taking time for the interview. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I was so happy when I got your email and I watched all your videos. Fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm honored. So I'm also honored to have you as a guest. So yeah, I recently came across you and I started looking at your videos and checking out your work. And I was like, I definitely would like to have her on the channel and to share some of her experience and her knowledge with everyone. Um, so I guess to start for my viewers watching, this woman here, she's manifested many wins from contests, and she's also heavily into law of attraction and reality bending, things like that. So I guess I'll let her take it off from here. If you could give us a bit about your background and how you started doing this, and
Well, it's interesting because I have always, well, I shouldn't say always. When I was 18, my dad gave me a metaphysical book of some sort, inspirational, motivational. I wish I could remember what it was, but I do remember what he said to me. And he said, if I can teach you at 18 what I learned at 36, you'll be way ahead of me. And I think I've read, everybody that's come out at some point in time. And I have a hobby of entering sweepstakes because it's fun. It's one of the ways to get things in life. You can buy it, or you can have it gifted to you, or you can win it. And sweepstakes have far better odds than the lottery. So I had always kind of dabbled here and there, like if I heard a song on the radio and they said, ninth caller or whatever, yeah, I would try to call in. And for someone who is an infrequent sweepstaker, I won fairly often. And then in 2001, I started entering regularly as a hobby after I read an article about these two people that enhanced their life winning. Well, of course, law of attraction and winning go hand in hand, because it just makes sense that you have to be in that positive vibration, that positive mindset, that excitement to win prizes. And I see it all the time. People say, oh, I never win. And I'm like, no, you won't. Because they don't believe you'll win. Or they see a sweepstakes and they say, well, that's just a scam. Okay, that's great, because you're not entering. I'm going to enter. I'm going to win. Thanks a lot. You just made it easier for me to win.
yes,
Let's competition. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many people say, well, if everyone starts entering, we're going to run out of prizes. No, I'm also a sweepstakes marketer. Yeah, I wear many crowns. Mm-hmm. And if companies see their promotions as successful, they're going to host more promotions, mm-hmm. because that's why they're doing it. Every aspect of marketing should lead to sales. And when they see that, and sweepstakes is a part of the marketing plan, they're gonna do it more frequently if they see it as a successful avenue. Mm-hmm. So it's only going to increase. People think, oh, their pie's only so big, but no, the pie will get bigger.
Mm-hmm. I like that. It's like a win-win type of attitude.
I love it. It is win-win. And people mm-hmm. say, actually, it was before I wrote my first book, mm-hmm. I started doing research. Because the universe leaves you crumbs. They don't show you the whole picture. You'd freak out and never do anything.
I've noticed that. Yes.
I work with Robert Ohado, and he calls it backpack guidance. You're right. You're only going to put enough in your backpack to get you to the next place before they put more in. Because if you saw the whole path, you'd be like, I'm not going there.
I'm good. Yeah.
So I was at a point where I was actually wondering what I should do with my life. I'd been a stay-at-home mom for 2.5 years. I was like, do I go back to work? Meanwhile, I had started this hobby. Like, where's my next thing that I want to do? I wasn't sure. Like, do I stay at home? Do I go to, I wasn't sure. And so I kind of said to the universe, okay, kind of show me the next steps. And we won a trip to LA. Now, this is very interesting how the universe puts together puzzle pieces. We'd won a trip to go have dinner cooked for us by Bob Bloomer, who was known as a surreal chef. And so we get to his house, and we had the agency people with us. It was like a little party. It was so fun. Mm-hmm. And he was sitting in his kitchen, and I was asking him all kinds of questions because every chef has all that all clad cookware, and he had it, hanging above the kitchen. I guess the most efficient way to store pots is to hang them up. And I made a comment on it, and he says, "Oh, all clad's really smart. They give those sets to every chef. So then everybody sees every chef on TV cooking with them and think, oh, that must be the best cookware." I'm like, "Oh, that's brilliant marketing. I love it." Right. And it turns out he didn't have a degree. He wasn't a professional chef. He was an artist who had developed this system of cooking with friends to be budget friendly. And then he wrote it as a cookbook. And then he went on this path without formal training. And I thought, well, that's interesting. So maybe I can go down a path I don't need formal training for. And later in the evening, he was sitting, his kitchen was narrow, and he was sitting at the edge of the sink with his feet up. And he pointed to his butcher block and he said, "This is the center of my universe." And I thought, that's really profound to tell strangers. And then he said it again, and I went, "Oh, that's a message for me." Now, I went home and just wanted to discuss it with a girlfriend. And I had started calling around about people who thought I should start writing a book. And someone said to me, "Why would you give away all your secrets?" And I thought, yeah, he's got a point. Why would I give away all my secrets, right? And then so I'm driving to her house to talk about this. And she said, there was a sign on a church. People say, "Please God, give me a sign." So I'm passing a church service bulletin, and it said, "You can't lose, helping others win." And I went, "Oh, that's for me." And right then I knew I was going to write the book. Like, it was okay to give away my secrets because you're just moving all boats rise with the tide.
It's amazing.
I thought it was fun. And it was before we all carried the cell phones. And I was so mad. I never went back and took a picture. Mm-hmm. But I did take my first book back to the church, and I gave it to the pastor, and he said, "You will not believe," there's one couple in the church that does them every week. And he said, "You won't believe the number of people that come into the church and say whatever they had put on the board changed their life." I thought, wow, that's amazing. So that's the other thing. We don't know what we say to someone, how it's going to change their life and what direction it's going to take. So they're out there following their inspiration, putting up a sign, and they do not know which direction it's going to take. And that's part of my point. So while I was there with Bob Bloomer, he was fascinated about my hobby. So I knew then, after hearing his message, that it was okay to go and write my books and follow this path and teach people how to win, teach people how to win with their minds, because winning's not just sweepstakes. You can, win that new job. You can win the heart of somebody. You can, right? There's lots of ways you can win in life. And he went off and started entering cooking competitions at state fairs. Mm-hmm. And he's in the Guinness Book of World Records, I think, for flipping the most flapjacks and I think peeling the most potatoes. And I'm like, mm-hmm. That's hilarious. So we kind of met up at some point, and he did this and I did that. Mm-hmm. And you just don't know where the universe is going to take you, right? Mm-hmm. You just got to go with the flow.
That's amazing. So
that's how I got started. And it wasn't a short story. I'm sorry.
No, it was a really good, I love this story. Please. I mean, yeah, I really like stories. That's awesome. So was there specific, have you always been using these power of the mind to win these things, or is this something you recently started doing? I know your father wanted you to learn how to do this. So did you start doing that immediately from a young age, or is that something you?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I think I always was a positive thinker, mm-hmm. and always could do, like, because he even told me when I was really little, you can do anything you set your mind to. And I believed him. So when I finished my first book, now it's funny because I told you I read motivational books, and I read The 1 Minute Millionaire by Mark Victor Hansen, and I can't remember his co-author. And it talks about writing a book. One of the ways to be a millionaire is to write a book in 30 days and make $1 million. Well, it took me 20 months, mm-hmm. and I'm still waiting for my $1 million. But the point was, mm-hmm. I didn't stop. Mm-hmm. Right? Because, and I do know people that can write. I was neighbors for a while with a young adult, very successful young adult author, and he could bang out a science fiction story for teenagers in 3 weeks.
Mhm.
But my books involve a lot of research and interviews, and that just doesn't happen in such a short time frame. By the time you contact everybody and, you know, coordinate everything and then assemble all the data, it takes much longer.
Mhm.
But that said, I didn't stop. And so I've written more books then because I knew I could do it. If you put your mind to it, my dad was right. And I know he picked it up from one of the books he read. I don't even remember what it was, but yeah, whatever you set your mind to, if you want to do it, you can do it. You just have to start taking action.
I like that. What books are you currently working on now?
Oh my goodness. I have a few. I'm halfway through Becoming Supernatural. I know, you think I would have finished that one by now. I started. I have my Kindle is full. I just keep downloading them because I get them when they're on sale. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to catch up. That's the nice thing about a Kindle, though. You can have like a lot on there and it's portable and you can take it with you wherever you go.
I
So
agree.
if I find myself, you know, waiting anywhere, I can just read. That's the beauty of it.
That is
Anyway,
fantastic.
Yeah, and actually one of my favorite books, which I've started rereading again, was Transforming Fate into Destiny by Robert Ohado. It's not a well-known book, but that one I think was the book that changed my life the most.
How so?
Besides Helen Hadzel's, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about her later in the interview. So backwards to this other guy. What is his name again?
Robert Ohado.
How did that change your life? How did he change your life?
He changed my life because I was running a lot of automatic patterning that I had not read about in any other books. And actually, I had read Sacred Contracts by Carolyn Wilman, but it didn't actually click until I had read his books. So it's almost like I needed another piece to that puzzle for me. Now, other people might have read her book and it clicked for them, but it didn't for me. And that's the beauty of having so many different teachers, because people, you know, there's a lot of people that teach similar things. Well, Dr. Joseph Murphy said, sometimes you have to hear something 42 times. I think that's a little excessive, but you need to hear something 42 times before you get it, right? Because he repeated stories in his book. So you'll see that patterning in his books because he knows people don't always get it the first time. In my case, I needed to hear it said differently by a different teacher. And actually, I think one of the reasons it clicked is he works with Carolyn and she wrote the foreword to his book. So it was how he verbalized the teaching. And I was running very common patterns, you know, codependency, perfectionism, you know, you go down the list. And when I really started to change there, and that's when I started to really click on that patterning. And yeah, my life is that has completely changed. So the relationship I'm in now is 180 degrees different than the one I was in before.
That is fantastic. That is awesome. That is awesome. That's what I tell a lot of my viewers about patterns and subconscious programs that we run, and it's really important. So I love how you worked on that in yourself. I knew there was something subconscious work you must have been doing to get in complete alignment with what you're doing. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience meeting Helen Hadzel? I saw some of your videos, and it seemed like another life-changing moment for you.
Oh, I was so cheeky. So I had a podcast before they were cool. I wish I still had it, but I went and had a dark night of the ego. It's not dark. I hear your soul doesn't go dark. It's your ego that goes dark. So I had this dark, so I had met her and then my life did this. So I didn't do anything with it. But what happened was I had a podcast before it was cool. And of course I had to interview the woman that had won every contest she ever entered. So I got her on my podcast, and off air, I was so cheeky. I said to her, I want to come visit you. And she said, no. It's like, okay, I shot my shot. You know, you don't, right? Jack Canfield said rejection's a myth, right? She said, no, my life didn't change. I didn't go worse. She just said no. 3 days later, she phoned me back and she said, your guides are so loud. you better come visit me.
Mhm.
But of course they're loud. I'm loud in real life. It would still make sense that my guides are loud, right? So I go down there and I spend 4 days with her. And one of the things she did when she was down there, she said to me, you need to continue my work. Because I think at that point in her life, she realized her original plan was to have her family continue her legacy.
Mhm.
But I think she realized in 2008 that her grandchildren were not going to pick up the torch.
Mhm.
They weren't interested. It wasn't part of their path. And she needed to have somebody that was going to be able to continue her work and ensure that it got out there in a manner. And actually what's really interesting is I discovered, well, I kind of knew the first one, she wasn't techie at all. And I'm pretty techie.
Mhm.
I'm not as expert as some, but I'm able to do things that she wouldn't have been able to do.
Mhm.
And the other thing is I've got the entrepreneurial archetype and the networker.
Mhm.
So those two things also combined to help me get her word out there. But I had started right after she asked me this, I started this real fun deep dive,
Mhm.
because for those of you that love astrology, Pluto went into Capricorn and all my personal planets are in Capricorn.
Mhm.
So that was just like, so I didn't do anything with it.
Mhm.
And then finally in 2019, I thought, oh my gosh, her son, she only had one son living at the time by then. And I thought, I better do something with this, because if he passes, they'll let her legacy dies with her. Like, I better
Mhm.
get off my butt and do something. Again, nothing happens unless you take action. And so I got a hold of him and I bought the rights to all of her work, because my fear was if I didn't buy the rights,
Mhm.
that when he passes, it would still die with her,
Mhm.
because it would be part of her estate and who knows what's going to happen.
Mhm.
So I bought all the rights and then I started republishing her work and getting it out there. And then I just actually went to Texas to her old home. It had been shut for 12 years. And I picked up books from her library and her business materials that could help continue her legacy.
Mhm.
So that was an adventure.
Yeah, I saw the video. That was really like a lot of fun. So,
Yeah, I
so
needed to stay longer, but it ended up being a whirlwind trip.
mhm.
Part of me thinks, oh, I gotta go back. Do it slower, more time.
So like yeah, like so many things I want to ask you, such like we have like about 45 minutes here. Like what was like the most influential part of meeting her? How did it affect you like profoundly? Like, can you like what part of meeting her really affected you? You said it was like a life-changing. Was it, do
Well,
you mean
it's
like
funny because some of it didn't click till later. And I think that's what happens, right?
Mhm.
Depending on, we get a lot of, well, I'll equate it to gardening.
Mhm.
So you get a lot of different seeds, and then some of them germinated right away, and then some sat dormant for eons,
Mhm.
like, or what felt like eons. And so the one that really got me was the way she focused her energy and I focused my energy.
Mhm.
And people give me heck for it all the time, because when I interviewed her, it was 2008. I had the worst interviewer skills.
We all have to start somewhere, right?
I know we all have to start with somewhere, but she's gone now, so I can't like fix it.
Mhm.
And one of the things she does, and she learned it from Jose Silva, was to take her energy and kind of focus it on one prize and get into she does like almost a little bit of everything. So she already had it, like Neville Goddard.
Mhm.
And she programmed her subconscious, and then she'd get the family involved. So now you've got 5 energies focused kind of on this one thing.
Mhm.
And so that increases the energy towards it, which is why she was so good at winning the bigger trips and things, because she had the whole family involved in just pinpointing their energy towards this.
Mhm.
And so she was really good at that. And I take my energy when I enter and I go like this. It's kind of like a massive dice roll at Vegas. I take all the dice and I go out on the table. And she's like, you're scattering your energy. You shouldn't do that.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I still like the fun of it. I like the Christmas aspect of it. I understand that by doing that, I've put less energy out to all things versus picking one and kind of combining it like a laser, right? A laser is going to have a much stronger effect than a shotgun, right? But I like that. But when different things in my life, if I focus on it, I will pull all my energy in and laser focus it. But for the sweepstaking, I still like the shotgun effect. I can hear her in my head and I'm like, but I like entering all the different things. I like not knowing what I'm going to win. I like it to be a surprise.
I remember I was listening to that interview. I remember you saying that I like it. And it's like, I can relate to that. You know, it's kind of like opening up a Christmas present and seeing what you got. Yeah. That's fantastic. What when you specifically like win a contest or manifest, is there anything else you could share with our viewers? I know it's impossible to share everything, and you're gonna have to go to our website, guys, and check it out. But are there any like tips, like common mistakes you see people make, or anything that works specifically for you that you would like to share?
Okay, well, first, if they're gonna start entering, okay, so I'll give the sweepstakes tips and then the law of attraction tips. So the sweepstakes tip is you have to have an email address just for entering sweepstakes. And people are so afraid of spam. And I have to tell you, honestly, I get far less spam on my contesting account than I do on my business account. So you shouldn't have a fear, but again, separate it out. It just makes life a lot easier. So I use one email address just for entering contests and all my online subscriptions. So if I want to subscribe to a newsletter or something, I have it all go to one account. Just keeps it separate and keeps it my business email from getting junky, or, you know, it's nice to have that clean split. The second thing is always read the rules. I can't tell you, even I do this. I have a whole wonderful TikTok playlist on silly sweepstakes mistake that I still make to this day, because I'll be rushing, or I think I read it one way and then I enter and I go, oh, I just disqualified myself. And sometimes it's good because I'll go and tell people what I did wrong, and don't do as I do as I say. Here's what not to do.
I do that a lot too.
Right? And it's kind of funny, but it's a good way to teach. Right? That's how I figured out you should have an email address just for entering sweepstakes, because when I started with my business email address. No. It took me 6 months to separate it. It was a long, drawn out process. That's why I'm good at it, because I made every mistake under the sun. You don't have to. It's like a recipe booklet, right? If you want to make a chocolate cake, you don't have to go figure it out. You just buy a nice book or find it online and follow the steps. Somebody's already done all the work, and you can have a beautiful chocolate cake. It's the same thing. I went in the kitchen and I figured it all out, and here's the recipe. And if you just follow the instructions, you'll do fine. I'm just going to save you a huge amount of headache. So read the rules so you don't do the silly mistakes. And then if you're overwhelmed, start with a sweepstakes aggregate. If you just randomly start entering things online, you're going to get confused. You're going to get lost. Sometimes they're a little bit spammy, or if you're not reading the terms and conditions, they might sell your email address. Those are the ones to be aware of. If it's a big company, they've paid a lot of money to an agency to create a promotion to capture your data. They are not selling it. That's why I get less spam in my contest email, because I'm very particular. So I go to a sweepstakes aggregate where they aggregate all the sweepstakes, and then start with single entry sweepstakes, because one and it's done, right? You put your entry in, you have even odds with everybody, and you have the same chance to win. And it'll get you used to finding a legitimate giveaway that you want to enter, reading the rules, and then entering. And it'll get you into that flow, because there's a learning curve, just like anything, right? So I've been doing it for over 20 years, so I can go a lot quicker, but sometimes the quick doesn't help. Again, hence the mistakes playlist. But overall, I could still probably go faster than most people because I've been doing it for so long. It's like anything, right? You learn a new skill, any skill. You want to learn to ski, or you want to learn to swim, or you want to learn to bake. It's always slower at the beginning. And then when you get better at it, I mean, there's people that can just go in the kitchen and throw ingredients together and they don't even need the books anymore, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you'll get there, but just go slow and then slowly start adding in the dailies and the ones with the instant wins. And over time, you'll discover you'll go faster and faster. But it's really fun. And I call it contest crack because one win and you're hooked. Like seriously, like that's it. It's we talked about archetypes. So I also have the gambler archetype, but thankfully it's paired with the sacred miser, which means I don't go and spend a lot on scratch tickets and lottery tickets. Now I do buy them when I feel lucky. I mean, I was in the grocery store the other day and I'm like, "Ooh, I'm feeling lucky. I bought a $2 scratcher. I won $6. Right? I was feeling lucky. I won the lottery. Yeah. And by the way, when people say they want to win the lottery, you got to be specific. You want the jackpot, because if you win $10, guess what? You just won the lottery.
I tell that to people all the time too.
Right? Language is so important.
It is.
So I was happy. I won $6. And then, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. The train just went that way.
I think you're going to go and talk about the law of attraction. Give it.
Oh yeah. For that. So then the law of attraction tips. Well, first of all, you have to believe you're going to win. Like if you don't think you're lucky and you don't think you're going to win, you're not. You already have to think. And if you can't quite get there, start with when you're entering, oh, I wonder if this is the one I'm going to win. Oh, maybe it's going to be this one. This is going to be fun to see what the universe shows up.
I like that.
Gives me. So you don't have to fully believe like Helen did and laser focus on, yeah, I'm winning that car. You could be, oh, this is an interesting one. I wonder if the universe wants me to go here and experience that. That'd be fun. And try just doing it a bit. It's kind of like going into a wading pool. You know, you're like, is the water cold? I'm just going to put my feet in. Okay, it's not so bad. And then you go down the next step and then the next step, right? So you can just think, oh, I wonder if this is the one. And then you'll start to feel luckier. Then once you win one, there was an old adage in sales. The best time to make a sale is right after you've made a sale. Why? Because you're in that vibration. So it's the same thing with sweepstaking. The minute you win a prize, go and enter a bunch because you're like, woo, I'm winning, right? Because you're in that vibe. Right?
Yeah, it's like a frequency, right? Yeah.
Now, that said, sometimes if I'm in a pissy mood, I'll go and enter sweepstakes, which sounds counterintuitive. But what happens is I start entering and I'm like, oh, no. And then pretty soon I'm like, oh, that trick looks good. And then by the time I finish an hour later, if I'm poking around and setting, then I've gone from here to here. So I use it as a tool to raise my vibration. Sometimes people will put on, dance music. Some people will go for a walk just to get some fresh air. Some people do yoga to move things in their body somatically. But I like to grab a cup of tea and sweepstakes.
For those listening, they're probably like, this woman, Carolyn, that I'm interviewing, she's actually won like over a $250,000.
Over 300. I've won 20 trips, actually. I won my 20th this year, which is really exciting. And that one is interesting because that was really me pulling in my energy to win that one like Helen did, because we had a huge snowstorm here in January and we have a long driveway, and it took my boyfriend and a neighbor with a snowblower 5 hours to dig us out. And I even went out for an hour, but then I'm like, I gotta work. So I came back in. And plus I hate the cold. But when he was done, he said, that's it. We're going on vacation. Like things have finally started to open up. And I went and found us a deal. And 10 days later, we're on the beach. Now, when my sister turned 50, she took me away on vacation. And I always said, oh, when she turns 50, I'm going to take her away. But that year we're at a destination wedding, not ours. And we went to a trip that I won, and then she got married. So there was no time or money for a trip. Then everything shut down. So I never got to take her away. So we're walking on the beach. And I really think this helped because I was already in the literal vibration of it. I didn't even have to use my imagination because we were walking on the beach. And I said to him, yeah, I really want to take her and her husband away because then they never got a honeymoon. I never took her away. And actually that year, I didn't even really buy her much for her wedding because money was just not there. So I thought, let's knock off 3 birds, 1 stone. I'm going to take them away. In my mind, now this is funny because I teach this stuff and then I go and do the opposite. In my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I better finish my next book. I better make a lot of sales and then I'll be able to afford a trip. You know, I'm like thinking, how am I going to do this? Hello, the how is the universe's portion. A week later, we get home and the Super Bowl has a ton of giveaways, like a ton. And one I'm really eligible for, and they were giving away 100 trips. I'm like, oh, we are winning one of those. So for the whole Super Bowl, I sat there entering because you were allowed to do Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So the whole time I'm just like on my phone, I like nearly ran out the battery. And Monday comes and I didn't win anything. I'm like, oh, for sure. I thought I was going to win. And then Tuesday morning, me, the marketer, should know better. You know how long it takes to draw 100 winners, verify them, and then contact them? It doesn't happen in one shift. I should know this. I do it for a living. It's, you know, winning prizes isn't where I make my money.
Yeah, for everyone, for those
being an author and running promotions for companies.
I agree. For everyone watching, really listen to her because she's not someone who's teaching this something she's never done. She's actually done this, like over $300,000 worth of prizes. This is what she does. So this is why I'm interviewing her. You guys want someone who's like applying the stuff in the world. Where I give you Carolyn, so listen to what she's saying.
But it's good because I have the perspective of sitting on both sides of the table. So I understand the mind of a sweepstaker and I understand the mind of a sweepstakes marketer, which actually is what benefited me at the beginning when I started entering the hobby, because I had always been a marketer. So I took a marketer's mindset to the hobby. And then when I run sweepstakes for companies, I have the mindset of an entrant. So I can go, oh yeah, that won't fly, or you need to change this verbiage because people won't understand it, or you have to make sure you do this because otherwise you're not going to get as many entries. So I can take the entrant smart mindset to the business side of it and make sure that they have a more successful promotion. So then again, somebody wins a prize, the marketers are happy. It's again a win-win. So okay, now I got to take the train back around.
I'm sorry for interrupting you. So you're saying about winning a beach, and then the first day you didn't get the notification.
So Tuesday morning, I get a notification, and I come out. I get out of bed. I got it really early in the morning, so I got out of bed, and I'm still in my underwear, and I come to the living room, and I'm like, I want a trip, and George is just like, he's fathoms. Part of him thinks his mindset is you have to work hard to make money. And I come and I just jam all his circuits because I'm like, okay, you took me on a trip. Well, I'm going to take you on a trip, but I don't work hard for it. I just have it show up. And he's like, what? He shakes his head. I'm like, yay. So a week from when I had decided, or a little more than a week, so maybe 10 days. From when I said I am going to take them on vacation to when I actually had won the vacation was 10 days. Now, we're not going to go till the fall because of their work schedules and whatnot. So it physically fully won't manifest until months from now, but I already know I'm going. So, but it's exciting to be able to do that. And you can do that with anything. Circumstances. I like Daryl Anka, and he says, circumstances don't matter. Only your state of being matters. I didn't have enough funds to take 4 people on vacation, and it didn't matter. We're going on vacation. Don't worry about what the circumstances are. It could show up.
So
I could have a friend call me and say, hey, you know, we've got this villa, who can come? Like, it can come from anywhere. You don't know. Don't shut doors.
So have you always had this state of mind, like your state only matters, not the circumstances, or was this something that you had to work on?
I think it's part of working on it because guess what? We're human. Yay. So when I went through my dark night, I was miserable. Now it's interesting because I think part of me always vibrates at a lucky tone. I guess is maybe the right word, a note. And so I never stopped winning, but when I was going through my divorce, I was just at the bottom here. And I guess, yeah, I can't put a bottom here. Well, yeah, maybe it was below the line. Like right down past the camera angle. And I didn't win as much but it never stopped. So I think my natural lucky tone just didn't take it to 0, but it went way down. Like I didn't win a trip for 10 years. And I kind of had the feeling internally, oh, until I get this to a certain level, that trip isn't going to show up. And sure enough, once I came out, boom, I got it. And I'm like, okay, I'm back.
So what helped you come out? Was it part of like the energies correcting themselves, or what helped you do that?
You know what? I think I had gone for a consultation right after the divorce, and I was told, yeah, you need to you're going to go through this, and you need to be rewired. Like, so your guides are going to help you wire by wire by wire. And so sometimes things take a long time, and you don't notice it right away. Sometimes it's subtle. Like at one point I remember thinking I wanted my life to look one way. And then one day I realized, oh, I don't care if it looks that way. I'm okay with it. And I went, oh, look, I didn't even notice the shift. I just noticed that it had occurred. And I don't even know how long since it had changed before I noticed. It's like somebody, went in the room and repainted it, and I didn't notice. And then one day I wake up and go, oh, the room's blue. How did it get blue? Meanwhile, it's been blue for weeks. I don't know. I just noticed today. So I think it's sometimes we feel the big shifts, and sometimes not. And then sometimes, I've been a Toastmaster for 16 years. And one time I did a speech on, it's called, It's Not About the Cranberry Sauce, because when we're with our families, man, those triggers, you must consult a lot of people about that. The holidays must be your busiest time, because Thanksgiving, Easter dinner, 4th of July barbecues. That's when, somebody's saying something to you and you're like, So the cranberry sauce, I brought cranberry sauce because I love cranberry sauce. Nobody else in the family seems to like it, but it doesn't matter. I don't care. I'll bring it. You don't need it. I take it home. So I'm cleaning up and I'm like, where's the cranberry sauce? And I said, it was thrown away. Oh, I just went, I just started screaming, what? Blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, so I have this observer. So I did in this speech, I have this little voice up here going, you are crazy. You're the crazy one right now. Everybody in the family is looking at you. You're gone bonkers. Meanwhile, I'm still yelling. So the physical body's going, wah! And the little voice is going, you look like an idiot. You know that? You really look like an idiot. Your whatever is totally triggered, and you need to calm the heck down. So I could hear it. So I'm trying to calm myself down somatically quickly, because I can hear the voice going, you look stupid. Like, just chillax, right? It's, and so I thought, oh, see, it wasn't about the cranberry sauce. That was just the trigger for it. And I've done enough work now to be conscious about it. So I had the little voice going, we'll just let you have this little tantrum like a toddler. It's like leaving a toddler on the floor. Okay, get it out of your system, and then we'll.
I agree. That's funny. It's very true.
Right. So,
yes.
But if your viewers can get to that point where whatever happens, they can even catch it, and you can catch it on the good times too. Like when you're feeling good and you're like, oh, I like this groove. How do I stay in this groove more often? Right. You can notice it on the good times too, but that's the problem. We always want it to be smooth sailing. And
if I may interrupt you for a moment.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So no, I enjoy hearing your story. So you're saying your guides were assisting you in the rewiring of these patterns. Like, were you formally told this, or is this instinct, or did you tell me more about that? No,
the consultant told me. And so I just took it on faith. And so I didn't actually ever recall some guide coming in my, dream and going, okay, we're going to need to rewire this. I can just envision it, like, and I also equate life to like those movies. Think about it. why do you like watching a movie or a television show? Because there's always something happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they, they're going on a ship and then the ship hits a storm and then this happens and then there's a fight scene and then, somebody gets thrown overboard and they manage to swim to shore and then they're found and then, this happens and that happens and there's parts that are good and they might fall in love and then there's other parts that they're, have to climb a mountain and oh my gosh, are they going to make it? And then they get to the top of the mountain, everyone's excited and all these different things happen. When that happens in our life, we get upset. We're like, that's not supposed to happen. I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm not. If this was a TV show, you'd be like, this is the most boring TV show. I'm not going to watch this. Right? We like those shows because there's like obstacles and challenges and opportunities and romance and drama and all the different things. And when that happens in our life, we're like, no, I just want to get on a sailboat and smooth sail.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't appreciate any of the good stuff. If it was always like this, we could never appreciate anything because there's no contrast.
I agree. There's nothing to work for, nothing to grow, to make yourself grow. There's no adventure, right? There's no story. There's no.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes things happen and you're like, oh, come on.
But even that's in a movie too, right? When everyone's like, oh, come on, right? Or right, when you think you make it out, and something happens. I like that. It's a really good frame to have. No, I was asking about the guides because I've noticed that as well, that the guides or call them like the higher self, whatever you want to call them, they don't really care, right? They'll do rewiring work with people and their subconscious, and they'll do work that needs to be done so the person will have a better frame of reality. So it's really interesting that you brought that up.
Now I don't hear them like Helen did. Now what I find is interesting, and another reason I think she asked me to do it is she was a Gemini, which is an air, a lot of talking, which is definitely Helen. But I'm very Capricorn based, like all my personal planets, but I'm a Gemini rising, and your rising sign is what you're supposed to kind of work towards. So I don't think it's an accident that I'm taking her legacy and I'm working towards her, but I'm not like her in that, she saw her messengers and she could see spirits and she did astral projection. I'm earth girl to the 9th degree. There's no levitating for me. She was able to levitate, not this earth girl. I don't do that.
I think that's good. I think that's actually really good because it shows people that work can be done and your guides can help you and you don't have to be able to do all the stuff. They can still make the changes, and you're a living testament to that.
Right. I just trust it. It's kind of like taking your car to the mechanic. You don't need to stand there and watch the mechanic work. You just know when you get your car back, it's fixed. Right. And then you pay the energy exchange with the dollars for the work. So I just trust that the car is going to get fixed. Like I don't have to see them doing the work. I just know it's going to get fixed.
That could be really annoying if you're standing over them asking, what are you doing? What's that? So
sometimes I'm a little jealous, honestly. I think it'd be cool to see, see my spirit guides or visit with an angel or, something. I don't got that. I don't talk to the dead. I'm not a medium. I don't do any of that. But, some people are gifted. Think about how boring this world would be, if we're all the same.
I think that you're like not giving yourself enough credit. I mean, you're like, you don't do any of that. You just like win over $300,000 worth of prizes. That's all, right?
Well, that's the thing, right? That's the other thing. And I'm very conscious of this.
Yeah.
We never give ourselves enough credit.
Yes.
And we never see ourselves the way others see us. Right? Because we're always looking at we always see more negative. I know I saw one of your videos and you've got to talk more positive than negative, right? Because you got to offset it. There's so much the brain loves the negative stuff.
I think it's because the reptilian brain and the looking for the drama. But I think you have. Some people would say. Some people say that people like you don't exist, and I've actually had people in my my newsletter say that, and I'd be like, okay, well, here she here
What
she
do you mean
is.
people like me? People that win sweepstakes, or
Yeah,
people
people
that are
who
just slightly, I call it the good crazies.
both, you know, the both people who constantly see have a frame of positivity in the world and see everything as positive, and also
Oh,
constantly winning and having an understanding and intuitive. It can be done. So, and if you,
yeah.
mhm,
I do have a positive mindset, because I think one of the other books that I really loved was New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And
mhm,
one of the things he talked about there was he gave that parable about, I think he modernized it, because I think originally it was horses, and who knows before that.
mhm,
But he talked about a man who won a Ferrari, and his friend said, "Oh, you're so lucky." And of course, it caught my eye when he had the guy winning a Ferrari.
mhm,
And his friends are saying, "You're so lucky." And he goes, "We'll see." And then he is in a terrible car crash and he ends up in the hospital, and his friends come and visit him and said, "Oh my gosh, you're so unlucky." And he said, "We'll see." And then there was a terrible storm, and there was a mudslide, and his house got washed out to sea. But because he was in the hospital, he was saved. And his friends came to see him and said, "Oh my gosh, you're so lucky." And he said, "We'll see."
mhm,
It's really basically saying we're the ones that put labels on what's good and bad.
mhm,
Like, you might say, "Oh, that really sucks, whatever happened." And how many times have you heard people that lost their job and they go, "That turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me, because I finally started my own business, or I
mhm,
went and moved across the country and took that dream job I've always wanted. It was the impetus."
mhm,
Right? So we label it as bad, but it turns out it's the best thing, because that's what we need.
mhm.
Sometimes that's what the guys do. They'll tap you on the shoulder and you don't listen, and then they'll kind of bonk. And then finally they go, "Oh my God, I got to get the 2x4." And then you're like, "What?" I
It's
can
true.
almost see my guides. I do. I picture them sometimes just going,
It's very, very true. So, could you share with us something else that something that you've won, that like something that really sticks out in your mind that really helped your frequency, and then also,
you know
any,
what's funny? This
mhm,
behind me, which
yes,
way? This way. See
mhm,
the radio that's
yes,
like so old now?
mhm,
That's one of the first things I won. And I use
mhm,
it to still win all the time, because I have it pre-programmed for all the radio stations.
mhm,
And I flip the dial and I'll listen for the cue to call in, or the code word of the day to text it in,
mhm,
or whatever. So that little radio, I've won tons. And then somebody, I have to tell you the story, was so cool. Don't worry about the how. You probably stress this a lot, but we can't iterate it enough. So I did this vision board. Colette Baron Reed does a class every January. And
mhm,
this is the second year I've taken it. It's free on Facebook, and then she puts it in her membership. And so I took like a week and a half to really, like, what do I really want on this board? Like, it's really specific this year. And she does like a back border, and so Helene had learned from Jose, and I've read the book, but sometimes things stick better when you hear them or see them, like in a class, like a Zoom class or something.
mhm,
And so I thought, do I want to take the one from Mind Valley that's been updated, the Silva method, because it's modernized, or do I want to take the original Jose Silva one? And I'm careful, because you don't want to put two identical things on there, because they might contradictorily manifest.
mhm,
But I put it on the board, and like 3 weeks after I had put it on the board,
mhm,
I get this message on social media from this woman that goes, "I've been cleaning out my house, and I woke up this morning and I just thought I should send this to you. Can I have your address?" And she mailed me the original Silva tapes.
that's
And I'm
amazing.
like, that just showed up. Like, she was called. That's what I mean. You don't worry about the how. I could not plant a thought in her mind. Like, the universe took that thought bubble and plopped it where it needed to be.
Mhm,
And she mailed me the set. And oh, look, I said I was this many years old. Which way? I'm backwards. The I said, no, I have a tape player. So I've actually been listening to it.
mhm,
Thankfully it has a headset jack, because for the meditations, you want them like right in your ears.
mhm.
And it just showed up. Like, you can't plan that stuff. So something that I won 20 years ago is helping me today
Mhm.
with something that's more than 20 years old. It's got
That's
the old
amazing.
80s, like I don't know if you've ever listened to tapes.
Oh yeah,
I'm
I
from
mean,
the
yeah,
era,
I grew up with tapes as well.
and they have a different
Yeah,
feel than.
yeah.
And
See,
then a week later, she messaged me again and goes, I also have the Silver Method one that I'm finished with. Do you want me to send it to you?
mhm,
And I went, yes, please. So she sent me both. So I had two, and they both showed up in like 4 weeks
mhm.
from the same person by chance. Don't worry about the how, just figure out what you want.
That's
It's
awesome.
crazy how it shows up. Now, I didn't win those, right?
Mhm.
They weren't a sweepstakes win. They just showed up.
Mhm.
And I didn't have to earn money to buy them. They just showed up. So don't
Mhm.
worry about the end result. Helene always said that a lot. She didn't worry. She was a homemaker. She didn't, when she first started, she didn't worry about, she just focused on what she wanted and it would show up.
Mhm.
You don't need the money. I mean, sometimes you need the money, and maybe the universe will send you the money so you can go buy the thing that you want.
Mhm. I like that. I like that. Um, I guess we should wrap this up, but
Yeah.
I thank you for taking the time. I really enjoy. Thank you for taking the time. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the viewers? If you guys are interested in learning more about her, I'm going to include her website and YouTube channel on the bottom of the comment section, or the summary. Yeah. So, is there anything that you'd like to leave everyone off with? Anything?
Well,
Mhm.
Helene always said life, she loved, her favorite quote was Helen Keller.
Mhm.
And the Helen Keller quote was, life is nothing but an adventure.
Mhm.
Actually, I think I just screwed that quote up. Yeah, only me, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that sounds like something I would do. I'd mess up the big quote from the book. Gee, I know. Now I'm gonna oh, actually, here's a good quote from Helene. She says, if you give your wishes enough energy, they will manifest. It's not wishful thinking, it's a fact. But I think I put the other quote that she liked at the beginning, because I even looked it up because someone said I didn't write it out right, and then I went and checked it. Oh yeah, Helene also said, you'll see it when you believe it. Of course, I can't find the quote now. That's Murphy's Law, right?
Mhm.
That's funny. That is, I call those Carolyn adventures, stuff that only seemed to happen to me.
Wait. Well,
Well, I can't find a Helen
how about
Keller
something
quote.
from
That was
you,
her
like
favorite.
something specifically from you, like I don't know, advice or anything like from you specifically. It doesn't have to be
For
from
me,
someone.
you know what?
Mhm.
You just have to believe. Yeah, I say if you're entering sweepstakes, it only takes one to win.
Mhm.
So if you think, well, that's not going to happen, it does. It literally only takes one to win. I know, because as a marketer, I also do the drawings for
Mhm.
these companies. So I see the results and I see the data. It really only takes one to win.
Mhm.
So just put out that resume, ask that person out on a date, enter that sweepstakes. You don't know which one is going to be drawn. And so
Mhm.
put it out there and it'll happen. You'll be amazed at where it comes from, or left field, or you'll be focused on here and you're putting all your energy here, and someone will tap you on the shoulder and go, by the way, turn around and like, oh my gosh, it's over there, and off you go.
I agree. Also, I would love to interview again in the future about your book and find out
Yes.
more about that, and what you're working on, and other thoughts. So if you're up for that.
Yes, this year I'm working on my next sweepstakes book. I want to make
Mhm.
a workbook companion to one of Helene's books, and I want to
Mhm.
finally publish her fourth book. So, and it's already the middle end of May. So I've got a lot of work cut out for me.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you again. I'm really deeply honored and humbled that you took the time to
Oh,
speak with me. So thank
thanks
you.
so much.
Thank you. And definitely, you guys watching the channel, I definitely recommend you check out her books, check out her YouTube channel. She has a lot of good wisdom and she's practically applying it, and definitely someone you want to listen to. So, well, thank you again, Carolyn. And I look forward to speaking with you again.
Oh, thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Okay. Well, have a great day. Bye.